That's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies, live from the Breeze Thru Beer Cave, Trinity, Edwards Mill, across the street from Carter-Finley Stadium. There's a big game taking place on Saturday. Is that why we're here?
I really wish it wasn't at noon for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's just embrace it. Let's just embrace it. Kind of like this.
Exactly.
This is first for you. How many years in radio?
Oh,
the first
man,
one
20,
in an actual
20,
refrigerator.
20 plus years in radio. I've done remotes in all sorts of places. This is a first. This is the first time I've ever done the show from a beer cave. So yeah, we're here at Breeze Thru today. We've been really, really happy with Breeze Thru. They've been supporting us from the jump since we made the move to podcast and YouTube. And they've got a customer appreciation day going on today from 11 until 2 o'clock. And they got $1.76 gallons of gas. They got a food truck out here. You can say hi. We got koozies too. You want to pull one of the koozies out?
Yes,
as
absolutely.
Well. With the positive vibes only.
I didn't know there was a pink
Dude,
one.
the hot pink one is fire.
I didn't know
the hot
there
pink
was a
one
pink
is fantastic.
one.
I love the hot pink one.
What?
Love the hot pink one. And we also thank Copiers Plus. They present
Orange.
Ovies and Giglio. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Again, that's copiers-plus.com. Small business owners, medium-sized business owners, you think you have your print management on lock? Maybe not. You could be losing some money that way. Let the experts take it over. That's one thing we've learned as small business owners. You got to let the experts do their thing. You can't solve all the problems.
Yeah, there's things that we know, and then there's things that we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know these things about business. So you know what? We ask. We just ask questions.
It's a very good point.
are good at asking questions, though.
We
can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, we tend to be
So
good
you
about
got to
that.
lean into your strengths. Copiers Plus strengths are managing both your printed and digital information. So check them out. It's copiers-plus.com.
We'll see how we are in terms of strengths when it comes to our premature evaluation. A little bit new there.
I saw that. That's really awesome.
Did you see the Polaroid of when you beat me in Tecmo Bowl? Did you like that?
I did.
All right, very cool. Let's go ahead and get started here on premature evaluations. NC State, Notre Dame. Again, that's really why we're here, and people are going to be hyped for the tailgating. Drop on by the Breeze Thru before you head out. They got the Howlers, as you can see behind me. They got a whole new selection of local craft beer that you can fill up on before you head out and tailgate, and also get some other goodies. This is what I jotted down for NC State and Notre Dame, man. Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman's been, pretty good for Wake Forest, but you know who's also been pretty good with Sam Hartman? Tony Gibson, defensive coordinator for NC State. With Wake Forest, with Sam Hartman at quarterback, I believe they're 2-2 in these matchups. Although I would point out that this Notre Dame team is a little bit different than some of those Wake Forest teams that NC State's taken on.
Best game of the year last year for NC State was the win right across the street over Sam Hartman in Wake Forest. The interceptions, he threw 3. The sacks, I think he had 4 in last year's game. The struggles have been real. Now, the question is, are those struggles related to Wake Forest's offense and the slow mesh?
Mm-hmm.
And does Tony Gibson have that figured out, particularly in Raleigh? Or is there something there that NC State can exploit on Saturday? It's really a fascinating season-long theme for me, and that is the play of the 6th-year quarterbacks in particular in the ACC. And Notre Dame went into the portal, spent their money wisely. Hello, Dabo. Here's another example. And I think you're going to see a very similar to what we've seen from Notre Dame the last few years. Remember, they haven't lost to an ACC team in the regular season since 2017. Okay, so they've won 28 straight games in the regular season against ACC teams, and they've won 28 of them pretty much all in the same fashion. Dominating up front, dominating with their defensive line, dominating with their offensive line, and just kind of pushing teams around.
Explosive. That's what Robert Anai mentioned during his press conference. When somebody was like, what do you want to see different? Explosive. This can go one of two ways. They actually get some explosive plays off, or it's going to be explosive in the same way that it was explosive for that guy from Irish Breakdown. Explosive in his pants. And that's what I'm probably the most worried about if you're an NC State fan, whether or not you're going to get a true test of what, or a true idea of what this NC State offense can be, and whether or not Brennan Armstrong has to do too much against what we know is a very strong up front for Notre Dame. A little bit different than that game against UConn.
Yeah, there were some causes for concern from that UConn game. And I do think UConn is fairly salty, particularly on their defensive front. But 19 rushing attempts by Brennan Armstrong. And obviously not many of them were designed.
No, they were not.
Right.
They were
so
not.
On one hand, you want to be like completely complimentary of the way that Brennan Armstrong competed his ass off in that game and made plays when he had to make plays for NC State to win that football game. That's number one. But then you have to look at it and go, is that a sustainable model for success? And I would suggest to you that it's not. And then you would look at the leading receiver in the game was Kevin Concepcion. That's fine. He's a true freshman. The problem is he led the team with 36 yards. They're going to have to get more down the field. I did enjoy their first drive of the game, a scripted drive. They marched down the field, scored a touchdown. I thought that was great for Robert and I. Ultimately, the struggles up front for NC State's offensive line will be what determines how far this thing goes.
By the way, one thing I realized while we are doing this podcast live from a breeze through beer cave, if you're watching live on YouTube, you can leave comments, and I can actually read those comments later on for Hey Joe. So if you do have a Hey Joe question for later, I can actually bring them up too.
Look at us,
technology.
Two 40-year-old doofuses trying to figure it. Like we're like, I wish we could get someone Jackson and Jacob's age. You could read these comments in real time. What is this sorcery?
That's crazy. All right. North Carolina, App State. Here's my bold prediction for this game. It's not going to be a repeat of what we saw in Boone last year. For a few reasons.
124 points? You're taking the under of 123 and a half?
I'm going to take the under on this one. And the biggest reason why is, and I know it's just week one, we lend ourselves to overreactions in these cases. But I do feel strongly that North Carolina's defense has changed. And I think Mac Brown alluded to it, or referenced it, I should say, during his availability. That's when I took it personally. I think this is a personal game for North Carolina's defense. This is one of those.
This is when
let's see where you truly are for your development and how good you're going to be. You're not going to give up 61 points and almost lose that game. So that's the thing. That's
40 in the fourth quarter, right?
Right. I mean, that's the first thing I'm looking for. Can North Carolina kind of make good on what we saw last year?
I just want to see how North Carolina handles success. You know, last year they got off to a great start, and then I thought it got to their head a little bit. To beat South Carolina the way that they did and dominate them, as long as Carolina this week doesn't believe their own hype. And I would be on that hype train right now if I was Carolina and I was a Carolina fan, because I do think they've put themselves in position to win 10, 11 games this year for sure and get into that ACC championship game. But that's all the way down the road. As the coaches and the kids love to say, you got to do that one game at a time.
All right. Speaking of how do you handle success, Lafayette, trap game for Duke?
No, wise scheduling for Duke. Either way, right? If Clemson had gone in there and Dexter Lawrence and Isaiah Simmons had got off the bus and they had kicked Duke's ass, you give yourself a chance to recover. Now you pour it out against Clemson. Now you give yourself a chance to recover. I can't say enough good things about Kevin Johns and Mike Elko and what they've done with the Blue Devils.
Elsewhere in the ACC, the only real matchup that I'm concerned with would be the Miami-Texas A&M game. This is about vibes. It's a vibes game. If Miami's about that life, and we're going to keep these things going on against the SEC like we saw this past weekend, Miami-Texas A&M is the game you're looking for pure vibes. Like, let's not, speaking of momentum, let's not ruin the momentum, Miami, and I'll get a better sense, more so than the Battle of Miamis, about whether or not Mario Cristobal year 2, Tyler Van Dyke, is really about progressing rather than what I saw last year, which was a slog of a team that didn't look all that interested at the end of the year.
It's interesting, first years for coaches. When they come in, it can be, hey, we have talent here. The previous guy just didn't know what he was doing. So you're going to galvanize the team around you. Or it could go the other way. Like, hey, you're here. We don't really like you. Which a lot of the Miami players, that was their reaction last year to Mario Cristobal. And they've turned that.
Happens. It happens, man. It happens.
And that's not either side's fault. But he's turned the roster over. I think he brought in a new offensive coordinator after the Josh Gaddis season. And I think, this is a big challenge for them. But you got to remember, Jimbo Fisher actually is a very good coach. He's just not a very good program coach. He's a very good game coach. So that's a challenge. And Texas A&M, despite the fact that they have a transfer, I think, on every roster in the Power 5 this year.
Yeah.
And even more. I think Texas A&M still has a lot of talent, so this is going to be a tough test for Miami.
And the last game that we've got in our premature evaluations is outside the ACC. And while Notre Dame and NC State are playing at noon, there's another game taking place at noon, the big noon Saturday, Colorado, Nebraska. We've already seen big ratings for Deion's debut. I would expect that this game is going to have big ratings again. I also am fascinated. I'm going to have to ask my guy, Robert, TV Sports Ratings. Can you isolate Charlotte area viewing for the
Rule.
Colorado-Nebraska game to see if people are enjoying Matt Rule get outclassed by Deion? Because I think that's what everybody's going to be watching. Will Matt Rule bumble his way to 0-2 and get outclassed by Deion?
This is an interesting spot, and that is typically Colorado, after a big upset over TCU, after everybody pumping their tires for a week, is going to come out flat in this game. Typically, particularly on the road. But instead, they're now at home. I think they have guys. All of the complaints I have about Clemson's roster do not apply to Colorado's roster.
Makes sense.
And man, I know you probably don't want me to go on a soliloquy about Cowherd, but I heard him talking again this week about how his big surprise was that how good Shedeur Sanders was. Like, and again, specifically mentioning, here's this guy from Jackson State. Like, I get it. That is technically where he began his career. But if all things were equal and his dad was not the coach at Jackson State, he would have been the quarterback for Florida State. If Deion hadn't disavowed the nose, right? Probably part of the reason. He would have been the quarterback at Florida. He would have been the quarterback at Miami. He would have been the quarterback at Georgia, Auburn, you name it. Like, that's the level of player that he is. Just because he went and played for his dad at Jackson State doesn't mean he is a Jackson, quote unquote, a Jackson State player.
All right. Anytime we talk about college football, it's brought to you by Wings Over. Wings Over Raleigh, Wings Over Chapel Hill, Wings Over Greenville. I'll be headed there on Saturday, getting a whole bunch of wings to take back to the house after some youth hockey, to check out the evening games, hang out in the backyard with my neighbor Rick. I'm excited about this, so go check them out.
Look, we put you on the right convenience store. We're here at the Breeze Thru. We didn't lie to you, right? We put you on the right steak and cheese at the Butcher's Market. We don't make these things up. We put you on the right pizza place too. Look, we know what we're talking about. The wings at Wings Over, Ryan Malley has got it figured out. And I'll say it again, those sweet chilies, that's the answer. You go in there, ask for those sweet chilies, even better, order them online. He's got parking at all of his stores. I cannot tell you what a huge boost that is over on NC State's campus for him to have his own parking. So go to wingsover.com, order those wings, get the sweet chilies, go in there and tell them, I'm here because the OG sent me.
That's important. Anytime you go get stuff, you have to tell them that we sent you. That's truly important. The NFL starts tonight. I know everybody's hype about Kansas City and Detroit.
Now it's really time to leave your family.
Well, no, it's funny.
If week 0 wasn't the time to leave your family.
There's one other college aspect that I wanted to get to that's related to the NFL, and you'll see why in a second. But since you brought it up, the whole like here are
I hate my family.
Here are grown ass men telling you they don't like their family.
And don't you
like,
dare
don't
get
you
married either.
And how dare you get married on this day?
Think about it.
No, don't do that. By the way, that does.
I like it though. It's like a little
what is like a fidget
spinner.
Yeah, no, because it makes noise on the mic.
Oh, okay. I can't hear.
Don't touch it. Anyway,
I'm not even getting high on our own supply here. I am, because this is the dark roast.
Yeah,
I am not kidding you. So good.
So I've seen a lot. Jonathan Jones, our friend, CBS Sports. He's an NFL insider, big time. We're going to talk to him next week. And he tweeted out something to the effect of, the NFL is back, baby, or something to that effect. And
like, where did it go?
Right. I mean, games are back.
Right.
But all like the Adam Schefters, the Rich Eisens, where they're all just losing their freaking minds over, it's been however many days since we've had football.
It's been 3,784 hours since the Super Bowl.
What do we do 365 days a year, guys?
Particularly them. They talk about the NFL.
We talk about the combine. We talk about the draft. We talk about free agency. We talk about tiers. We talk about busts. We talk about legacies. Who needs this more? Who's going to be your division winner? We talk about the NFL 360. I'm not saying this in a malicious way. It's more of like read the room, guys.
Yeah.
I get that you're excited for football tonight, and I am too. And I was excited about week 1 football last week for college football. But this idea of like the drought that we've been going through, the desert of football, we have finally found our oasis. No. Speaking of the draft, and we'll close our college football conversation on this. Caleb Williams, Southern Cal. Drake May, North Carolina. They can go pro after this year.
Yes.
Both of them still have eligibility after this year, if they so choose, but they're ready to go.
I feel like everyone has eligibility from now until 2030, right?
That's a good point. That is a good point.
Okay.
So there was a feature in GQ that's got the people going right now. And at this rate, it looks like the Arizona Cardinals are going to have the first pick in the draft next year.
Okay.
Now, if you are coming out to the NFL and how the NFL is set up, would you want to go to the Arizona Cardinals?
Probably not. I don't think I would, but
so
I'm not sure I have a choice.
We have a follow-up to our guy Jonathan Gannon, who's the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes.
Remember
Did you have a
earlier?
fire in, that was too much emotion.
Did
you have a fire in your gut?
How'd you get here? Did you take the bus? Did you drive here? Show of hands. And like everybody's looking at him like, what? So Jonathan Gannon went never go full Larry Fedora. Never go full Larry Fedora.
Okay.
Jonathan Gannon said the team knows who will start a quarterback on Sunday against the Commanders, but he won't reveal it publicly. Quote, I ain't telling you anything, Gannon said today.
I ain't faking this.
Maybe he would have got the mixtape the other day. When I see that kind of clownish behavior from an NFL coach, that's, as Brooke Pryor from ESPN pointed out, that's big college coach energy.
I hope he released the depth chart with an or.
Oh, man, that'd be so good.
That would make me happy.
That would have been so good. So if you're Caleb Williams, you want to go play for that?
I'm pretty sure his dad said, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, not so much. This is the quote from Carl Williams, Caleb Williams' dad. Quote, the funky thing about the NFL draft process is he'd almost be better off not being drafted than being drafted first. The system is completely backwards. The way the system is constructed, you go to the worst possible situation, the worst possible team, the worst organization in the league because of their desire for parity gets the first pick. So it's a gift and a curse. We've been using that one a lot. Carl Williams said, though, that Caleb gets 2 shots at the apple. So if there's a good situation, the truth is, if there's not a good situation, I should say, the truth is he can come back to school. Now, in previous years, Joe, the idea of a quarterback coming back to school was laughable because why would you say no to first pick money? But what has changed in the last couple of years?
Yeah, but NIL money doesn't match the $35 million that you're going to get as the number 1 overall pick.
I agree, but it at least gives you somewhat of an option depending on the school that you're at. And at a place like Southern Cal, they can probably take care of Caleb Williams to come back for another season.
You know what he would be better off doing, actually? If you really don't want to be the number 1 overall pick, don't play.
There's that
because there will be a galaxy brain GM. And in the case of Arizona, you're talking about a team that routinely outsmarts itself.
Yes.
They would not take him because they'd be like, oh, well, he didn't play.
Right.
As if Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons did not sit out a season and then come in and be the dominant forces in the NFL.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point.
That's what I would do.
That is a valid point.
If I'm distracted, like
it's all the beer.
The beer choices in here. These are all of the beers that I like. And you know that I'm like now down to beer flavored beers.
I know you are.
So it's hard for me to find actually good ones and grab it because I want them to be a sponsor of the zombie. The purple there.
Catawba's kind of going through it right now, dude.
I don't care, but that is currently my favorite beer flavored beer.
White zombie?
That is currently my favorite beer flavored beer.
Interesting. Well, you know what my current beer flavored beer is that I'm waiting for the end of the show?
Well, that's a standby.
It's so cold too. I love it. Again, we're doing
so good in here, man. But I see some of my all-time favorites. The Wicked Weed, of course.
There's the Wicked Weed. They got the highlight.
Too Hearted? Are you kidding?
Yeah,
Rocket Science?
Come on. You see that Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA?
No,
it's sleepy time. It's sleepy time for Joe.
I have retired from that.
Yeah, it's definitely sleepy time for you.
What an amazing selection, though.
Yeah,
like I'm not even. And Rolling Rock. I said to Adam, "You got Rolling Rock." He's like, "Yeah, What do you think we're doing here?
Who would? And look, the throwback cans for Natural Light.
No, I'll tell you, my local grocery store does not have Rolling Rock.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought
I love Rolling
ubiquitous.
Rocks.
All right, fair enough.
Housekeeping.
A little bit of housekeeping. New Law of the Wolf is out. You talked to Jay Sam.
I did.
And you had to bring up Matt Cannon, didn't you?
I mean,
do we have to reach out to see if we can get Matt Cannon on the show?
I don't listen.
Do you still have his number? Has he changed it?
Brooke doesn't think I like Matt Canada. I just think he's very predictable.
Well,
that's
fair.
all.
That's
I don't think it's a bad. He's quirky.
Yeah,
he's quirky as all get out.
Yeah.
But I don't mean. Let's put it this way: he's not one of those coaches who are like, oh, I hate Giglio. Speaking of which, Mark Gottfried might join us on this podcast.
I'm excited.
I've reached out because he started his podcast.
He started his podcast. All right. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out. bugsbite.com. Have we seen Hayes's
the RV? Oh, it's parked. It's ready. I just saw Brooks. So
driving in, I saw the new scoreboard. It looks pretty nice. I'm excited about it.
It is nice. Looking forward to Saturday. And there might be some bugs out there.
Yeah.
You know where you can control the bugs? At your house.
Yes.
But get the ones outside the house, get the ones inside the house, get those mice. And I'm not kidding about this moisture barrier deal. Especially, your house is a little bit older, but these newer houses where they decided, like, we're not going to have a basement, but we're going to have like this giant walkthrough, which is just going to capture all of this moisture, which leads to mold and mildew. You don't want that. I promise. So go to bugsbite.com.
Also, big thanks to Oak City Sports Cards, buy, sell, trade, and most importantly, grade. We were sitting here grading beers and what we like. You might like a card, but it's a little bit different from your personal preference to what the market bears out. And that's what Weston can do, can grade that card for you and see where you go.
You want to talk about selection? You've been in the store. You know all the cards. He's got them all. He's got that Rod Brindamore signed rookie that I got my eye on. That with the Blues, we're going to get that one ultimately. But go check him out downtown Raleigh off of Glenwood Avenue, or go to oakcitycards.com.
All right. So this is live. So we talked to Shawn Clark. He is App State's head coach. App State coming to town this Saturday to take on the Tar Heels. We actually talked to him after yesterday's show ended recording. So the only non-live thing that's taking place is our conversation with Shawn Clark. So as I'm trying to do all this stuff on the fly live on YouTube, please bear with me on some technical difficulties if there are any. But here we go. Here's our conversation with Shawn Clark. On the Easter Automotive Group hotline is the head coach, App State Mountaineer football. He is Shawn Clark. How's it going, Coach?
It's going great, guys. Appreciate having me on the show. I always look forward to talking to you guys, and especially on a big week. We're traveling to Chapel Hill this week for a big in-state game.
Two big weeks, really. That's why we love catching up with you, but I'm really fascinated by your next 2 weeks. I know you're not thinking about ECU after the fact, but Giglio and I are very much on record that we love these games. We love when App and Carolina, App, ECU State all play each other. And I'm sure the team also kind of feeds off this stuff.
At the risk of kissing up, too. Like, I'm on the record that App State and ECU should be in the ACC. I want to see us all the time, man.
All the time. So I'm guessing that energy feeds into the players, especially after what happened last year with Carolina and App State.
No, that question. I've been a big proponent of this the whole time, to play in-state schools in your non-conference games. And our first 3 games are all against in-state opponents. We play Gardner-Webb, then we go to Chapel Hill and come back here versus East Carolina. It's great for college football. It's great for the state of North Carolina. And we can keep our money right here in the state. And you go back to when we played East Carolina and Charlotte, and there was roughly 40,000 people there on a Thursday night on ESPN. And we put on a fantastic show last year with the shootout versus North Carolina. And that's what college sports is about. And I think the Sun Belt and App State have hit it around the head. This past week we had 36,000 people. We had the most fans of anybody in the Sun Belt. And we expect in 2 weeks from now to set an all-time attendance record here at the Rock versus East Carolina.
I don't think you planned on Joey Aguilar coming in and throwing 4 touchdown passes in the win over Gardner-Webb, Coach, but did you find something there?
Well, it was a tough – we wanted to make it a true competition all the way back since January, and we were very truthful with both quarterbacks, what was going to take to win the starting job. And that was be able to take our offense down the field, eliminate turnovers, and score touchdowns in the red zone. And it was a very close battle all the way through. Some coaches were going to lean in one way or the other, and excuse me, that's the great part about being the head football coach. You have 51% of the votes. And we all knew what kind of arm talent Ryan and Joey have. And then, when it was unfortunate because Ryan was 7 for 11 when he hurt his finger. And he hurt his finger on the first drive and continued to battle through it. Then Joey came in, and his first play at App State's a 45, 50-yard bomb down the field for a touchdown. So, it's Joey is that California kid who reminds me a lot like the Brett Favre, just go back and sling it and see what happens. So he has a lot of confidence in himself and his arm strength, and I think that was evident when we played Gardner-Webb this past Saturday.
Shawn Clark joining us, head coach, App State, here on Ovies and Giglio on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. I did want to go back to a bigger picture question about App State and what you know about that program and how fans and the school itself feel about the program and where they should be. Giglio and I talk about the standard being the standard, and it's all various levels. App State has its own standard. So, with the excitement of last year, because you had an incredible September, people might not have realized, I know you know this, but people might not have realized how the rest of the season went. And that's not to what App State has been used to in the past. So how did you kind of reassess this offseason and how you wanted to get just back to what App State is capable of?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I played here from 94 to 98 and came back here in 2016. And there was, we had a great run from 16 to, all the way through 22. We were 10-2 in 2022 and lost in the championship game. You thought the whole world was going to erupt when we win a championship. But,
Right.
we enter a new conference now. When you look at the Sun Belt, how it's evolved and the strength of schedule we have with Marshall, Southern Miss, Old Dominion, those teams, James Madison coming in, it's a tough conference. I would put our conference from top to bottom versus anybody in the country. And now with realignment, I think the Sun Belt's in the top 4 of all college football. So we weren't and you mentioned last year, September was a whirlwind. I really don't remember much of it because of the highs and lows it was. And but then, we're dealing with 18 and 20-year-old kids. And to have that roller coaster ride there on from North Carolina to going to College Station and beating the number 6 ranked team in the country at the time. And then we have a flat tire on the airplane coming back. And we don't get into Boone till almost noon on Sunday.
Right.
And then you have College Game Day here for the first time in the history of the program, and that was a big event for our town. And it's we had over $580 million of unpaid advertisement for our university and for our athletic department, and enrollments went up as far as applications were up 25%. So you can't tell me that college football doesn't matter.
Right.
And then we go to James Madison, and we're up 24-7 at halftime, and them getting beat at the very end, and our players, it's all, I have to get things corrected. And we did that. And we went a total reset of the program. It wasn't a rebuild. It's not a reload. We had to reset it. And that's what we did. We brought some new coaches in. The guys that been before, Coach Ponce came in. Coach Barbay went to Mississippi State. We brought back Coach Ponce from the University of Miami. Scott Sloan came back to lead our defense. And Matt Greenhall, who had been before as an assistant when I was here, is leading our strength conditioning. So we have all the right pieces in place to have a great season. I know our kids are looking forward to this weekend, and it's going to be a great 2023 season for App State.
We're guaranteed 124 points again, right? That's how it works.
Yes, that's how it always works. You're down 21 in the fourth, and you score 40, and have a chance to win it. And I look back then, I caught a lot of grief about going for 2 for the win. But anytime I never look back on that. I mean, that was the right call. Man, I was going to give our players the best chance to be successful and end the game right then. And then we kick it on Saturday, go back around for a touchdown, and we go 3 plays, 80 yards, and go for 2 for ties. So, but that was a big time. That was a big time game, and I'm glad I was part of it.
Speaking of lack of defense around here, the concern has been about North Carolina improving their defense. We saw glimpses of that against South Carolina. When you've been preparing for this game, what do you see different about this Tar Heels defense versus what you saw last year?
To me, it's the best team Coach Brown has had since he's been back in 2019.
All right.
And that's not coach talk. That's real talk. And you look at, South Carolina won a lot of football games last year, and they got 9 sacks. And when it was all said and done, they were minus 2 yards rushing. And you look at Rucker, number 25. He's a little undersized, but man, he reminds me of like a Dexter Coakley's back here at App State back in the days. The guys that, man, wow, you have to account for him every single play. And they're very senior heavy on both sides of the football with their grad transfers, people who've graduated and working on a master's there at Carolina. So we have our work cut out for us. We know our players know we have to play our very best, have a chance to win. But it's an opportunity we have to go down and put our program again on the national stage on the ACC network and play in one of the greatest venues of all college football.
Last year's game, you look back at it and you go, well, Drake May, you saw him against Florida A&M, but you didn't know all of the things about what he was going to be. Now you have a full year of tape on him. What kind of stands out to you about Drake May? And are you slightly surprised people aren't talking about him as the number one overall pick in the draft? Like, what else does he have to do to prove to people that?
No, I'm very surprised. I had a chance to watch Drake throughout high school at Myers Park, and I thought North Carolina got a steal with him at Carolina. But the one thing we didn't know about Drake last year was how good of a runner he was. We knew he had the arm strength, but there were several times in our game it was 3rd and long, and we're thinking it's definitely going to be a pass against a quarterback draw for 12 or 14 yards. So when you watch the tape, he's really improved. Chip Lindsey's done a great job with him, helping him develop more than what he has. And in my opinion, he's a first round draft pick and a Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, you look at his resume, what he's done since he's been there, and a lot of credit goes to that kid for the way he's worked and put his team first and give them a chance to win week in and week out.
Shawn, when you think about college football and where it's going, and we talk a lot here in the Triangle about NIL and getting players out of the portal and trying to help your team, how has that changed for you at App State, where you guys depend on identifying the right players out of high school, developing them, and getting them a little bit older, and then they know exactly what your system is and they know your standards. So how have things changed for you now as you head into your 4th full-time year?
Well, I wasn't a big proponent at first. I just thought for our culture we have in our program here that we want to develop high school kids, and their 2nd, 3rd, 4th year going to be great contributors for our program. But I found out very quick that that's not the case anymore. We're a living example. This past year we lost one of our best players on defense. Jalen McLeod goes to Auburn, and our backup center goes to Oklahoma. So we have great players here. It's a new age of college football. It's win now or else. As far as that goes, I wouldn't say pressure, but the expectation, especially here, that an 8-4 season won't be good enough. So you have to. I talked to Eli Drinkwitz one day, and we were discussing the new age of college football. Every year is a 12-round battle. It's a 12-round fight, and you just hope to be in the ring the next year to compete again. So we're going to take it 1 year at a time, and if we have to go in the portal and get players, we're going to do that. And we did this year on defense. We had to establish some depth, and we went there and got Sean Collins from Rutgers and Michael Fletcher from Michigan State, and several other players as well. But you have to do it, and if you don't, you're going to get left behind.
You got to. I was going to say there's events too. You talk about game day. I'm pretty sure there was a pretty big country music star that showed up for game day for y'all, right?
Yeah, not bad. Everybody had Luke Combs.
Luke Combs knows a few.
Don't make me do this to Coach.
I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying that.
I can't control myself when
country.
It comes to
we
topic.
saw Scotty McCreery show up for state for some Pack of Wolves stuff, right?
Yes.
All right. We saw Eric Church, which touchy subject, and Luke Combs. We all for game day. I mean, this is kind of like where you are right now. It's almost like you have to do some entertainment to bring that money in too. I'm guessing App State can bring some money in with a Luke Combs show, right?
We can, and we have. Luke Combs played here in 21, opened his first tour of his touring season, if you will, and I think we had 40-some thousand people here. So, Luke's a great friend of the program. We became friends probably the last year and a half, 2 years, and he comes back more often than what people know of. He's kind of discreet when he comes to town, and he'll slide on the field or up in the box, and he just wants to come in and watch a great college football game. And he might go to a few of his local places where he first started,
right?
Do a pop-up show and get out of town. So we're very proud of Luke Combs and everything he does. And it's great, too, because whenever he does shows, if you look at he has an App State T-shirt on or App State hat when he was in Charlotte. So it's big for our university. There's a lot of fans that love him because of the way he represents our university.
You had a good chunk of fans in Kenan Stadium the last time you guys were there. You expect, and this game sold out, so you got to be expecting some black and gold in the stands, right?
I do. We have a very passionate fan base, and we travel very well. And I think it's one good thing when you play in-state schools that App Nation will show up. And no matter if we go to NC State or East Carolina or North Carolina, our fans are going to show up. If you look back, we played Charlotte. I think it was 2018 in Charlotte. and we had more fans than Charlotte did. So that's one good thing when people want to play us. They know we're going to bring fans into their stadium and really support the black and gold.
Is that what you were talking to Drinkwitz about? You know, the last time App State was in that building?
Might have.
We miss Drink around here. Good people. Good people. Shawn Clark, App State head coach. We appreciate the time. Have fun in Chapel Hill. We expect points, and it'll be a good time.
Guys, I appreciate having me on your show. Always looking forward to this, and go App.
So that's Shawn Clark, App State head football coach, who joined us yesterday. He's not in the beer cave with us, Joe. He's not in the beer cave with us. I'm sure he would have enjoyed being in the beer cave with us. You have the beer, but do you have the meat? That's an important question. Butcher's Market has that for you. Drop on by their locations across the triangle before you get to tailgating. They got the meats, they got sides. Most importantly, they got the stuff you need to grill itself, the charcoal, the smoked, the wood to smoke, the pellets, marinades, seasoning. They got it there, Joe.
Drove out to the Wake Forest location yesterday to pick up some Groove Wagon seltzers. Great spot, man. Like brand new. Actually, I was at 2 different Butcher's Market locations yesterday.
Really?
I was hitting all of them.
Jeez, man.
I was at the home
going
base.
for the cheese and the steak and cheese trifecta.
I was at the home base on Millbrook and Falls, and then I ended up driving out to Wake Forest to get the Groove Wagon. So hitting all the spots, got them all, and they've got everything, man. Like seriously, like you're ready for tomorrow, you're ready for Saturday. Go check out the Butcher's Market. Get the hot dogs, man. Maybe you're tired of the steak and cheese. Get the hot dogs. I love their hot dogs.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is our friend Wes Durham, ESPN.
Wow.
Town. He's in town for the App State North Carolina game, but the reason why I texted him was, hey man, Falcons, Panthers, week 1. Let's go. What's going on, man?
How you guys doing? I feel like Mike Bray on the old Packer and Durham show, coming to you from a rental car on the side of the highway. But you're in a damn beer cave, so really, what's the difference, right?
Where are you right now? You're at RDU? Is that where you're at?
I just left RDU. Governor Cooper will appreciate this, fellas. I have pulled off the side of the road, but still wearing my seatbelt because the car's running. Because in case you don't know, since you're in a beer cave, it's 93 degrees here.
Yeah,
or something
we don't know.
crazy.
No, we don't know. It's really, really nice in here right now.
Yeah.
It feels really good.
It feels really nice. We'll get to some college football here in a second and why you're here. But again, week 1, NFL is back tonight between Kansas City.
Tell your family you'll see them on President's Day.
I'll see. Maybe we'll do something nice for Valentine's Day if I'm not already thinking about the draft. Regardless, it's interesting. Cam Newton, his debut for the Carolina Panthers in a loss, no less. 422 yards, 24-37 passing, 2 TDs. He had 1 on the ground as well. Do you know how long it's been since a top quarterback pick in the draft has won their debut?
Well,
it was before Cam Newton, right? Wasn't Peyton Manning. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
21 years ago. It's 21 years ago.
Oh,
21 years ago.
21
Holy
years
cow.
ago. It was David Carr.
Wow.
Oh, because they beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I remember that game, Sunday Night Football with Mike Patrick.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That's how old this is, for heaven's sake. But we got the Bryce Young debut against the Atlanta Falcons, and I also saw an interesting stat. I think I want to say it was in one of these gambling. No, it was in the New York Times. It was.
I wanted you to finish that thought though. Like you were so dismissive. One of these gambling.
No. It wasn't one of those.
No, it was in the New York Times, which is kind of like gambling. But go ahead.
No, but they have. I think it's what Neil Greenberg does, or Ben Hoffman, one of the writers. Neil Greenberg's Washington Post. I think it's Ben Hoffman who does New York Times, and he does the lines. And he basically laid it out like this: in a battle of rookies in their debut, don't go with the quarterback, go with the running back, which is what Atlanta has.
Well, and Bijan Robinson is talented. There's no getting around it. I mean, just you can stand at practice for 20 minutes and watch him catch, flares out of the backfield, and you can tell he's talented. But the thing about it is, what's being forgotten is Atlanta had the top rookie rusher in the NFL last year in Tyler Algier, and they're going to compact. They're going to use both. They're going to use both of them. They may play them together in certain packages. So while Bijan Robinson's going to be a critical piece of where Atlanta's going, Algier's already here. And I think the Robinson, Algier, combine it with London. Mac Hollins is now a Falcon, by the way. Kyle Pitts, a pretty good offensive line, as long as they're healthy. I think, Atlanta's got some elements offensively that I think a lot of people are anxious to see. But remember this, and I know Brian Burns is playing games this week, but the idea that Carolina is bad on defense is not true. Carolina's pretty good on defense. I mean, Jeremy Chinn's healthy. That's huge.
Yeah, but
they've
need Brian Burns to make that true.
Well, no question. But, I mean, Brian Burns has got to do what Brian Burns needs to do. And I think Frank Reich said that this week.
I can't decide if I should be happy or proud or excited or depressed that it's 2023 and you just ran through a list of skill players and you didn't list the quarterback.
Ooh,
right?
Well, because, Joe, we're at a time in Atlanta where you've got to remember that the quarterback for 14 years here completed basically 67 to 71% of his passes, right? And if you get caught up in the quarterback situation, because Desmond Ritter's not going to complete 67 to 71% of his passes. But what Desmond Ritter can do is gear your offense to the athleticism that's around him. And the other thing Desmond Ritter can do that Matt Ryan could do is Desmond Ritter wins. I mean, he won 44 some odd games at Cincinnati. The guy went undefeated at home. Look, I think he's going to be a really good quarterback in the NFL, but the problem right now is nobody knows. They haven't seen enough of him to categorize him, so they're going to say, well, he's not very good. And I think he's learned a lot. I think his leadership qualities, the thing I've seen in preseason from a practice perspective, is all really, really good. And I'm excited to see him go, but what I'm telling people in Atlanta is you can't get caught up in the comparisons to Matt Ryan, and you sure don't want to get caught up in the comparisons to Michael Vick from 20 years ago, because this is a different guy at a different time. But I think he's going to be an important piece too, no question.
I would just also now like to take this time, now that it's occurred to me.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith, that's at some point we need to appreciate when somebody's dad is like super duper successful and they just go do their own thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
It's really impressive what he's been able to do.
Yeah. No, and I think that you need to understand that his family, he's one of 10 kids. His dad, obviously, Fred Smith, was the chairman of FedEx.
No, I didn't know he was 10 kids. That's interesting.
Yeah. He's got a sister that's involved in movie productions on the West Coast with one of the major production companies. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. I mean, the thing about him is that he is a really, really smart guy. I've had a lot of people tell me who work with him and others around him that know him, telling me he might be the smartest football guy they've ever been around.
And he's trying to win a different way.
Yeah.
The old way, don't get me wrong, but he's trying to win a different way, which I
appreciate. Well, I think that he realizes, though, when you try and play that way, you force other teams to be uncomfortable in today's pro football. And I think that's part of the reason he's trying to play that way. That and the fact that he likes to get into exotic formations, not necessarily to trick you, but to make you think and to make you declare what you're going to do defensively. And I think that's a big part of why Atlanta's been built offensively by he and general manager Terry Fontenot the last couple of years the way it has.
Wes Durham.
And he's a Tar Heel.
He is indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wes Durham.
The Heels don't do a good enough job of that.
He has what?
You got to promote your people.
Well, they're everywhere.
I know.
Well, let me tell you, hey, Joe, let me tell you this. I mean, like, he's got, like, Dwayne Ledford was an assistant coach when Arthur played at Carolina. He's on the staff. TJ Yates is a coach. Matt Baker, remember Matt Baker, the backup quarterback?
Yep.
He's down there. He's like a special assistant. They're Carolina people everywhere. I mean, I walk out there and I damn near get called Little Woody. I mean, it's, that's the old school stuff. I mean, it feels like I'm walking up to see Phil Ford. Phil Ford's the only guy still calls me Little Woody, and I'm damn near 60.
Jeez.
Woody's boy.
Woody's boy. That's it.
Speaking of being Woody's boy.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Here we go.
And we got Carolina App State on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get a 63-61 shootout, 40 points given up in a quarter.
We're not?
I'm taking the under.
We're not.
Right.
I don't think that's happening. We started the show this way when we were doing our premature evaluations.
Sure.
I think
really need a splash graphic for that.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, you do. That's a good point, Giglio. Well done.
I don't think it's premature to think that this Carolina defense is a little bit different. And I feel like this is one of those games they've got marked to kind of avenge what happened last year. A game that everybody was pointing
Which they
at.
won.
They won it. But
Yeah.
But you're right. But you're right.
Mac Brown from the end of last year all through this offseason and through the beginning has been telling you, don't stop looking at September. Okay, stop.
Yep.
Look at the end of the year, which gets to two questions. I agree that Carolina's defense looks improved against South Carolina, and this is not the same. Shawn Clark's got some things he's trying to rework. They're catching App State at a transitionary time, which I think is good for UNC. So I do think that this defense has shown you what they're capable of. Now they actually have to go out there, not pitch a shutout, but look like they're not going to be the same team that gave up 40 points in a quarter a couple of times to start the season.
Well, I think you're right. I think the thing about it is Carolina has to take a next step and kind of validate what they did last week.
Yes.
That's it. And really, Carolina's theme in that line is also the theme in the ACC. You've got to kind of validate what you've done. I mean, the league is kind of walking around with its chest pushed out, and it should. It's 8-2, and they went 2-1 against the SEC.
Cal needs to do the same thing, back that up.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to look at, Carolina's got to validate kind of what they're doing, because think about where they're going in 2 weeks.
Right.
I mean, they're going to Pitt in 2 weeks. That'll be a step toward the ultimate goal, which is to get back and play in Charlotte. And I think for the defense in particular, look, they played really well against South Carolina last week, but statistically, I bet Gene Chiswick's brought up 353 yards of passing, don't you?
There's that. The other thing that I was kind of curious about when I had jotted down is, all right, defense, we've obsessed over that, but quietly, Drake May needs to clean things up. Go back to the Georgia Tech game where he didn't throw a touchdown, had one pick. From the Georgia Tech game on, he finished the year 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he starts the year 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again, I'm not trying to tell you that Drake May isn't like living up to the hype. I'm just saying he probably wants to clean things up going the rest of the year if they're going to be going to Pitt and winning that game.
Yeah, but he also played last Saturday night, obviously without his number 1 receiver, and some would say his number 2 receiver.
Yeah.
And Nate McCollum. Now, I don't know what McCollum's status is, and I guess we'll find out Walker's eventually, but the idea of Carolina, and I thought Chip Lindsey called a beautiful game offensively last week, because they used British Brooks and Amarian Hampton in a productive way, and I still think he's got 3 more guys he can turn to if he wants in the run game. And then the other part about it is, for all those people that thought Chip wasn't going to throw the ball to the tight end, all 3 of them caught passes last week, and I thought all 3 of them impacted drives in which Carolina was productive. For me, that's a really good sign of where Carolina might be going offensively.
I mean, I don't want to overreact to the heels, but
he's overreacting to the heels.
I'm just telling you, I could see that at least getting to 9-0, if not more.
Oh, hey, Joe, you're exactly right. The scary part is you can see them getting to 9-0. You can see Duke rolling to the Notre Dame game. You can see Florida State if they get past Clemson. And now Clemson, obviously, you talk about 60 minutes of just a screenshot of what this could turn into. This league, and I think what people saw Monday night, now certainly there's the whole Clemson thing, right? But you have to understand nationally how much this league has improved in the last 3 to 5 years because of coaching and players and development that they're not getting credit for nationally, because too many people got their head buried in who's beyond Alabama and Georgia.
How many times over the last 10 years, let's go 20, Wes. How many times in the last 20 years do you think LSU steps on a field against someone other than Alabama and they don't have more talent than their opponent?
Well, the last 20 years, probably more than you think, because let's be honest, it's not like John Heisman or, Amos Alonzo Stagg's been coaching down there at times. All right.
Yeah, but they have stacks on stacks of talent. That's what
no question.
No question. But it was just a more talented team.
Okay, outside of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Patrick Queen and that team that blasted Clemson in the championship game, right? And they've had players and they've had contending teams, but they've also gotten to the SEC championship game December and gotten smoked by Georgia.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll give Alabama and Georgia their flowers on this. But I have a real hard time just all of a sudden. Somebody in that league's got to show me something behind those two.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I mean nationally, I'm led to believe that Mississippi State is this in the bag of nuts, and I'm not going there yet. And I'm sure I'm not going there. I like Sam Pittman, good guy, but I'm not going there with Arkansas and all those other people. If you want to go there with that, then I'll counter with Riley Leonard smoking Clemson. How's that?
We'll close on this NC State
Okay.
game across the way from us. Speaking of showing something,
Aha.
I don't expect State to win this game because the supporting cast around Sam Hartman at Notre Dame is a lot different than what we've seen in these previous matchups between NC State and Wake Forest. And it's all at that line. And I know, Giglio, you've pointed this out with NC State's offensive line looking somewhat shaky against UConn. Notre Dame's a step up in that.
Somewhat.
Yeah, Notre Dame's a step up in that competition. And Brennan Armstrong, we know he's capable of running. We know that's something that was going to be different about his addition with Robert Anae's offense. But I don't know if this game is going to give us a good indication of what NC State's offense is going to look like going forward, because I just think it's a bad matchup for them.
Yeah, and I think NC State probably Robert Anae and Dave Doran and Tony Gibson got to be thinking about how can we slow the game down and minimize the possessions.
This has got a
Because
Dave Doran special to him, like how
it
Dave
does.
win.
This
Like you know
one-
how Dave likes to
Like
win.
do the rain dance. Bring that hurricane back.
Yeah.
Slow this
Well,
thing
and I look.
right
Let's
down.
be honest. The game in Raleigh is critical. The game in Coral Gables is critical to the ACC's national reputation.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
The Texas A&M
Those two games in particular.
Yes.
You find ways to win those two games, and all of a sudden, you can kind of walk around playing Ric Flair for a week or two.
All right, Wes, we appreciate you jumping on from the side of the road with your seatbelt on somewhere just outside RDU as you get ready for the App State UNC game. All right, man.
So,
man.
what are you taking? What are you taking out of there, Giglio? Let's be honest. What are we taking out of there?
What are you taking out?
Of the cave?
Yeah, what are you taking out?
Yeah, what are you taking out? Case and a half for the weekend?
No, I got my zesty white zombies over there.
Zesty.
I got this
okay.
waiting for me, Wes.
Nice.
Like
Okay.
twisted teas too. I'm not gonna lie to you. And the
Is this the breeze through over there by the arena, right?
yes,
Yeah. Drop on by. Say hello. Talk to you later, man.
Tell you what, guys.
For you.
You never know. Post-game show. If I ever get ACC Network primetime in Raleigh, the post-game show could be at the breeze through.
Yeah, because you know we have problems trying to find a good spot after the fact.
Hell yeah, we do.
All right, Wes, we appreciate
See you
it.
guys. Take care.
That's Wes Durham on the Eastern Automotive Group hotline. All right, we're going to do a line change here. While we're doing the line change, big thanks to Hometown Realty. The guaranteed offers aren't what you think they are. You're seeing your buddies, you're seeing your friends, you're seeing people tangentially hear about, going over list price on some stuff. Yeah, that's not how a guaranteed offer is going to work. So get somebody who knows the markets, get somebody who's going to fight for your best value, and also how competitive things can be if you're trying to buy a house. That's where Hometown Realty comes in. Check them out at myhtr.com. Also, shouts to Whitaker and Hamer. WH.lawyer is their website. Attorneys and counselors at law. I did not have to sign any sort of waiver to do a show from a beer cave. I don't think there's any sort of liability concerns. I hope, although frostbite might be a concern going forward. We shall see. If you have these kind of questions, this is where Whitaker and Hamer comes through. Again, check them out online at Whitaker. At wh.lawyer. I mentioned we are doing the show from the beer cave. Adam Stevenson is here, runs Breeze Through. You can sit down. We're doing a quick line change here with Giglio. I think he needed to get some more coffee because he is very much cold.
Is he a little chilly?
Now. He's a little chilly. I'm actually, I don't know, maybe the hot takes we've been given today have warmed me up that I haven't had to break out the down jacket yet.
Yeah.
So again, thanks for having us
Of course.
out here at Breeze Through.
Thanks for being here.
So for those who are not familiar, if you're watching live on YouTube, so let's talk about today first, then we can
Sounds
talk about the rest of the season and what this Breeze Through is about. So we got Customer Appreciation Day, $1.76 gallon of
That's
gas
right.
starting about, what do we got here?
Soon.
Like 5 minutes.
We are down to the wire here.
And this goes until 2 o'clock. So
It's
when we
gonna
put
go
the
till 2 o'clock.
podcast out,
Yep.
and if you're listening to the podcast, it's here till 2 o'clock.
Yep.
$1.76 gas.
Yep.
Food truck, all that fun stuff too.
Yeah. Our food truck's here. Oak City Food or Grill and Deli. Chef Chase, if you check out our social media, he is showing off what he's got cooking right now.
All right.
He is working it. And that food truck's going to be here every state home game. It's going to be in our parking lot before the game, after the game, during the game. So if folks want to get a bite to eat on their way home, they can stop by and see us.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. We got State and Notre Dame at Carter-Finley Stadium. I'm sure that this spot has been a last minute, like, oh crap, I need X.
Yes.
Whether it's beer, snacks, whatever it might be. So this spot has been here for a while and people are familiar with it. But what they might not be familiar with is the new revamped howler station.
That's right.
We got these plastic
yeah.
howlers sitting behind me.
Oh, yeah.
And I know when we linked up and you started sponsoring Ovies and Giglio, we had a long conversation about beer with our guys from 919 Vice.
We did.
How do you got that worked out right now?
Well, we're really excited about it. You know, we wanted to rebrand the growlers and crowlers, right? That's kind of like, I don't know, not going to say outdated, but we felt like there's a more fun way to articulate what we do here at Breeze Thru with our beer offer, right? So across from NC State in Raleigh, Deep Roots here, they're now howlers. So you can get the 64-ounce Big Howl, which is the bottle that you see behind us here, or you can get the Little Howl, which is a 32-ounce can.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So if you want to elevate your tailgate, come see us and get a Big Howl or a Little Howl.
And if you don't want to get the howler, it's no big deal. You just want to get some cans of beer, whatever.
Yeah,
you
we have that
this,
too.
You come into this beer cave. That
coldest. I think you can vouch. Coldest beer in Raleigh.
What do you keep this thing at?
Well, it's got to stay between 32 and 35 degrees.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you had this thing at 35 degrees.
It was pretty chilly.
All right,
it's cold in here right now. I may not be able to stay in here much longer. Yeah.
All right, it looks like they need you out there as we're getting ready to roll. Adam, thanks for having us out, man, and thanks for sponsoring us. This is great. This is stuff that we never would have thought we'd be doing back in early May when we started this thing up. So we truly appreciate it.
Of course.
And thanks for putting the koozies together, man.
Love the koozies.
I love the koozies.
Those are limited edition. So come and get them, multicolored.
I'm going to steal a few to send out to listeners, right?
Yeah, please do. Please do. That's part of the plan.
All right, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, do another line change. We'll bring Giglio back in here as we're at the Breeze Thru doing the show live on YouTube. If you've got questions for us, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can leave a comment on YouTube. I'll see it, and we'll get to it in Hey Joe. So in lieu of doing something on Twitter or going into the comments, you can just go ahead and leave a comment right now, and we'll get to it when we do Hey Joe. The Carolina Panthers, as we talked about with Wes Durham, are open up the season against the Atlanta Falcons. And as of this recording, I don't know about you, Joe, but I have not seen anything from the Brian Burns front.
No, we had a Bosa yesterday, which we were thinking, okay, now here comes the good stuff.
You'd think,
right?
The deal, it's a record-breaking deal. He's getting the over 32 he thought he was going to get.
Yeah.
I think it's $34 million annually.
So Bosa is.
Yeah, Bosa is. So
okay.
That's going to make him the richest non-quarterback player, biggest contract for somebody who plays on defense. Not that Brian Burns is going to get that exact amount. The point was, and always has been, let's see how the guy who wants the most amount of money ends up, and then you start slotting things from there. So this affects Chris Jones and the Kansas City Chiefs tonight. Maybe they knock out a deal. Maybe they don't. Not that they need Chris Jones.
Yeah, I was going to say the Chiefs and the Niners can live without those two guys.
They can.
The Panthers cannot live without Brian Burns.
So and that's where,
which I respect the agent,
and that's where
I respect the play.
Frank Reich's frustration started to come out yesterday. So he had another press availability. At the time of the press conference, they did not know if Brian Burns was going to practice. He did suit up.
Okay.
But he's still not indicating one way or the other if there's a contract that's got to be signed. And there's no indication if he's actually going to play in their opener against Atlanta. And this is about a 2-minute clip of Frank Reich with media. It starts out with Mike Kay, our friend from the Charlotte Observer, asking about him being named a captain, despite the fact that he's been doing this hold-in and he might not be available for week one.
When you guys were doing this vote, obviously Brian's dealing with his situation, but what do you think that means that he has still got that backing while he kind of handles his own personal situation?
I think it just shows the respect that he has in the locker room, you know, the player and the leader. He is a great player, but make no mistake about it, he's a great leader, and the guys recognize both those things.
Expect Brian to be at practice and participate today?
You know, as I've said, I'm not going to speak on behalf of Brian. I'll let him speak for himself.
Does that mean you don't anticipate him being out there, though? I mean,
I'm going to let him speak for himself.
Has there been any discussion with Brian to say, you know, with you not participating in practice, to stay away from the facilities until things are completed? Have you guys had any discussions like that?
I really don't want to get into the private discussions with him. What I can tell you about the nature of all the discussions are, you know, that Brian is focused on getting himself ready and our team ready to have the best season possible. And So that's where all the attention has been.
Frank, one of the options you guys as a team would have would be to fine him for conduct detrimental. Is that something that's been discussed?
Listen, I mean, we all know how this works, right? I mean, I've been in this business for 30 some years, a player and a coach, and understand that, there's a player perspective that we all have to respect and understand that player has to do what he has to do to get what he needs to try to get. We also, and that's important. And I understand that we love and respect Brian for that. I also understand that there's a business side over here. And, the business side says that if the player's under contract, he's expected to play. I'm just the head coach. I'm just trying to get ready for Atlanta, right? So all eyes are focused on Atlanta. What we talk about it, we addressed it as a team, so we, hey, this is what it is. We trust that the process will work itself out. We're focused on getting ready for the Atlanta Falcons. That's really the business side has its position. The player has his position. We focus on Atlanta.
Frank, you're talking about getting ready for Atlanta. Bryce.
So that's Darren Gant, our friend from Panthers.com, getting away from the conversation that was taking place. That's Darren being a company man. That's Darren Gant being a company man. Shout out to him. But yeah, you could sense that Frank Reich is tired about talking about this. He clearly views this as a distraction. It is business. He understands it.
And he did answer the questions. Like it wasn't like it was like one question and he jumped on somebody and went ugly. Like no, he tried his best there. I think he is trying his best because it is right. Like he said, 30 years in this business, and he remembers being a player. And this is the play the agent set up, and I don't disagree with it for Brian Burns.
All right, so that's where things stand with Brian Burns as of this conversation. Okay, I have not seen any sort of updates on Brian Burns. I mean, what happened yesterday? We were talking about Nick Bosa. Could he sign? I jokingly texted Brooke Pryor from ESPN. We had this conversation. I said I scheduled this tweet for 3:00. If that dude signs before 3:00, I'm going to be annoyed, but the conversation still holds. He did it at 4:00, so at least he gave us an hour in that regard. So with the Panthers,
maybe this is all a distraction. Like Miles Sanders is healthy. We're ready. Like that's my big question mark for the Panthers on Sunday against Atlanta. I want to see what Sanders looks like. I want to see the workload that he gets. I don't want them to get back into the Christian McCaffrey situation where he is their entire offense. I do think they have some better receivers around Sanders, and I think they can help Bryce Young. But I think ultimately somebody has to make plays on the offensive side of the football. And I get like, oh, maybe it's DJ Shark this week. Maybe it's Adam Thielen this week. I think those are complementary players. At some point, you need a guy who is your fastball. And I think the way that this roster is constructed right now, Miles Sanders needs to be that fastball. Speaking of guys we haven't seen from in the preseason. So those are my two primary things. Hey, we haven't seen Brian Burns, who's supposed to be the star of their defense.
Right.
We haven't seen Miles Sanders, who's supposed to be the star of their offense. So that's what I want to see on Sunday.
We also don't know how Bryce Young is, the development of Bryce Young is going to take place over the course of the season. That's something that Frank Reich and Bryce Young have done a good job talking about in not ruining the guy out of the gate. He got a little bit of a condescending question, though, that I thought he handled really, really well. He was asked about how things had just kind of been easy for him at Alabama, knowing
Bryce Young.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
Okay.
But things were kind of easy for him. Piece of cake when he was at Alabama. I mean,
you know how I feel about this.
I mean, he did carry Alabama last year. Okay.
I
mean, was that
you know how I feel about this.
Was that a vintage Alabama team?
No,
last year?
skill players. No, absolutely not.
So I think that's why I thought Bryce Young handled this pretty well, and that there's ups and downs and everything else, and what happens in the NFL is no different than what he was experiencing in Alabama.
Yeah. For me, I definitely wouldn't say my career has been a cakewalk. I think, again, whatever people look at it from the outside, but there's always ups and downs throughout a season. There's highs and lows. There's times where, you feel great. There's times you feel like there's a bunch of stuff you got to improve on and work on. And, I feel like that's something that has been consistent for me. Obviously, this is a new experience, a new level. There's going to be challenges. And again, I know everything's not going to go perfect. So, I can't predict the highs or lows. But obviously I know that, there's going to be ups and downs this year. And, for me, whatever they are, I'm going to lean on God, lean on my family, my teammates, my coaches, to weather that and try to still be productive. And again, I've understood, again, everything's not going to be perfect. But, again, being able to lean on others and still try to push through whatever it may be and try to grow from things that may not go as well. That's kind of the approach I'm taking.
So there you go. There's Bryce Young. By the way, anytime we talk about the Carolina Panthers this season, graffiti in the house, graffiti in Cary. They've got great cocktails, mocktails as well. But what you might not know about graffiti is they have a bunch of TVs, excellent placement, and they got all the games on Sunday. And I think the best kept secret in the Triangle at graffiti is their Tuesday break-even night.
I was going to say, will you explain this to me? Because I'm listening to your ads and your podcast, and I'm going, I don't understand what that means.
Bourbon's expensive, Okay.
This.
Buying a bottle of bourbon is
which
expensive.
You have to do through like the ABC board.
Yes.
Okay. So
even for you to buy is expensive, but for you as a place to buy it,
it's numbered, the whole thing.
It's all that stuff. So essentially, they give you 1 ounce pours at cost.
Okay.
No markup.
Meaning that's what they paid for it. That's the lowest they can do
so
it. That's what they paid for.
I caught up with Alec Campbell a couple of weeks ago. We met up at graffiti on a Tuesday night, specifically saying, "Hey man, break even night. I got a 1 ounce shot, essentially 1 ounce pour of a really expensive bourbon for $3."
Okay.
All right. So that's break even night.
What are there? 16 shots in a
bottle? There's more than that.
Is there?
I think there's more than that.
Okay. Oh, you said 1 ounce.
Why? I did not say. Why are we mathing?
My bad.
I already broke your brain with cable math yesterday.
I know, but
now you're doing ounce math. And you know how I am about that stuff.
I know. I'm just a fifth, right?
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of it because I heard the ad and I was like, "Ooh, what is it?" But then I was like, "Wait a second, what does that mean?"
Yeah.
How am I breaking even? Am I gambling? Is there a scratch-off ticket involved?
Yeah.
Am I betting on the NFL on my phone? Like, what? No, I'm watching the games and I'm drinking good bourbon.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And they got bourbon specials on Sunday as well. Obviously, they're going to have the Panthers game on.
Yeah.
So go out and check it out at Graffiti. They're going to be sponsoring our Panthers conversations throughout the season. And also check out Young Gun, the Bryce Young podcast, hosted by Dimitri Ravanos and Lauren Brownlow, as they're going to up it up to 2 shows a week starting next week now that we're here in the regular season. So go check that out. So again, big thanks to Graffiti. Speaking of the NFL, do you have, as we're getting ready for week 1 tonight, what is your boldest prediction, Joe?
Ooh, last year it was the Chiefs weren't going to make the playoffs without Tyreek Hill.
How'd that work out for you?
Whoo! Yeah, sometimes you have to admit your losses. Boldest prediction for this year. All right, I'll go with my Super Bowl pick then. I'll say that Brock Purdy becomes the first Mr. Irrelevant to win the Super Bowl with his team.
My bold prediction: Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers will make the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets won't.
All right, we're on opposite sides there because I think the Packers will struggle.
Yeah.
I think the Jets will be good.
I said bold predictions.
I think Russ will be good.
And
the Broncos.
Here's where I have a bold prediction tied to
that feels like a good one.
I have a bold prediction tied to your bold prediction, but it goes in an opposite direction. You said Brock Purdy's going to do what now?
Become the first Mr. Irrelevant to lead a team to the Super Bowl.
He won't, because he's going to get hurt
again.
And Tom Brady is going to come out of retirement.
Now that is bold.
And fulfill the prophecy of going back home. And he's going to win a
He's
Super Bowl.
Burn a Giovanni Carmazzi jersey in the process.
You could add Brock Purdy to his 30 for 30 about
he
the
can't
Tom
let
Brady
Brock Purdy because I think Tom Brady is like the latest draft pick
I think
or whatever.
so. Yeah, I think that's the case.
Now,
he's like, whoa, that's my record. I was taken in the 6th round. No.
Nobody after me.
Nobody could do that. So
do you really think Tom Brady will play football this year?
Yes, I do.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
Yeah, he's absolutely. Well, what's holding him back now? Unless Tom Brady's so depleted from partying.
But he's okay. So help me out. He's not working for Fox this year.
He can get out of that.
No, but is he working for Fox this year? I don't think he is.
You know what?
I don't think his Fox deal starts until next year.
Is it next year that it starts? I know he brought back the podcast. He's brought back the Let's Go podcast.
He's so titillating
with Jim Gray. And you know that he's going to have moments where he's going to hint that he's coming back. Jim Gray's going to ask him, so, hey, this quarterback got hurt. Are you coming back?
Then he won't answer his question.
Not.
Typical.
He will not answer his question.
Poor Jim Gray.
He will not answer his question. All right, let's
paid handsomely though.
we got some Hey Joe questions to get to before we get out of here. But big thanks to Matt Davis at State Farm. InsureGarner.com. TheOGinsurance.com will redirect you to Matt Davis's website. You can give him a call. An actual person will pick up. 919, even with a local area code. 919-779-8277. Matt Davis over at State Farm. I've been a State Farm client for a really long time. There's a reason why, and Matt Davis is an example of that, and he can help you out.
He'll get me some insurance to thaw out a little bit after this. It's cold here. Feels good, though.
Speaking of ways to keep warm, they got wonderful hoodies at Homefield with wonderful vintage college designs. Go check them out at homefieldapparel.com. Use the promo code OG23 to save 15% off your first order. And then Homefield's going to send you even like more deals after that. But that first one gets you going. OG23 to get 15% off your order. You want to get hyped for the Carolina app game? They got Carolina and app. You want state gear? They got state gear. They even have satin jackets, bomber jackets. Those are all great things. So go check them out. Homefieldapparel.com. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe questions brought to you by Oakwood Pizza Box. They're open today. I'm actually going to go to Oakwood Pizza Box for dinner tonight.
Nice.
So I'll be visiting.
I'm going to be recording with Anthony here in just a little bit.
Okay, well I'll be tell him I'll be dropping by.
Okay.
I need the square. I might need the special. We shall see.
Always.
So I asked for Hey Joe questions via the YouTube live feature on StreamYard.
This is exciting.
So I've not done this before. Even in the old Panic Room days, I never actually tried this. So let's see how this works. Let's go to William Needham Finley, the ITV insider. Oh, look at that. It works. Hey, Joe, can you talk more about how the movie Rudy isn't real and should be grounds for kicking Notre Dame out of the ACC? I agree. It's not real. It's made for Hollywood.
I mean, are they even in the ACC to kick them out? Like at what point did they just tell the ACC?
They have their scheduling agreement.
I might need to turn the camera around on our fan right here. Are you kidding?
What's going on? What happened? He's wearing a t-shirt?
Yes.
Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. All right. To Zach. Hey, Joe, NFL's back. With that said, what NFL Network theme song do you think goes the hardest? It's the Fox one. The Fox theme song goes the hardest. It goes harder than Monday Night Football.
You don't like Carrie Underwood's slightly over-sexualized
That's an
Sunday night?
That is. I prefer the 30 Rock Tennis Night in America. That's what I prefer over the Sunday Night Football theme. Okay. Much more than that. And you all know how I feel about the Fox music with Cletus and all that stuff. And if I were
you would like to be,
if I died of frostbite in this beer
when
cave,
you leave the immortal coil,
yes,
you are ready.
Please play the
Fox
injury music while they lower my casket. From Evan, I got the steak and cheese yesterday. Shout out to Butcher's Market. Love to see that. Love to see that. From T, have you tried the Pirate Brew from R&D Brewing yet? I have not. Yeah, R&D has taken over all the branded college beer market
in here for
which
I saw the Riviera sign.
Yeah, the Riviera sign's right over us. So if you're not familiar, and I can give you a little background on this. So New Belgium
we got beer changes.
New Belgium was the basically they brought their Old Aggie, the Colorado State beer, and made it called Old Tough, and they made it and they called it Old Tuffy. And they worked out an arrangement that it went through the university, not through athletics. It was a university thing. And there was like research money that was exchanged. New Belgium, because with NC State and food sciences, they've got brewing classes. NC State makes its own beer that you can get up in Vaughan Towers if you know the right people.
Yeah.
At one point, they made a beer made out of like the yeast of a wasp wing because they could. Strange stuff that they're doing over there. Did you know you can make a beer out of your beard? That's happened.
I don't know if I want to know that.
Maybe we can talk to Whit and he can make us a beer over ancillary.
That guy
out of our beer. He can make
He's off the charts.
Yeah,
man.
he can make anything. So that deal ended. So Old Tuffy, if you have like a case of Old Tuffy sitting in your refrigerator or your backyard or whatever it is, then Joe wants to bring in the listener who's rocking the podcast.
You got to
shirt.
come in.
Yeah, we got to get you on camera while you're rocking the podcast shirt. So anyway, to wrap up the point, they're out of the arrangement with New Belgium. R&D has come in. They've rebranded Riviera, kind of like what you see with Bud Light cans where they put the Panthers logo on it. And that's what it is now. That's all it is. Anyway, what were you going to say?
We're going full Zach Brown here.
Yeah.
Remember when I told you when they see a fan?
You bring them on?
Remember I told you they play a song for them?
Yes. Is this, what is this? What is this like? What are we doing here? Is this a fan? Hi.
I'm Zach.
Hi, Zach. What did you Zach? Oh, is that it? Zach? Oh, all right. What's up, man? What's it going? Do you have any more Hey Joe questions that you want to add that you're here, like in person? You got to get up on the mic. That's how it works.
Hello.
Hi. Do you have any actual Hey Joe questions?
Did you answer the ones I posted in chat earlier?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
did. We were actually just answering that one. I said that the Fox music
Fox,
goes the hardest.
Zach's the birthday baby.
Yeah.
So is the baby here?
Yes. Do you want to get the baby out, Lauren?
I mean, can we
Do you
bring
get the baby
can we
out?
get the I mean, it's cold in here.
It's fine. Only
We
for
can
a
bring the
second.
baby on. So this is your what's the baby's name?
Jack.
Jack. So that is fresh out the oven. That is
almost 3 weeks.
3 weeks old. Oh my goodness. Oh geez. Like I retired. I retired, but that baby's so cute that I'm considering unretiring. I'm gonna have to get it reversed at this point. So Jack, hold on a second. Let's get the camera on Jack here. So there's Jack. So Jack, some of the first sounds Jack heard were us.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
so sorry.
In the hospital.
I'm so sorry.
I had to put him through it.
I'm so sorry about that.
I, as a future NC State Wolfpack fan, he had to get used.
Why are you doing that to the child?
Let him have a chance.
He has no choice. Like, my grandpa worked at State 25 years.
Uh-huh.
My dad graduated in 84.
Yeah.
I graduated 2014. So
I love it.
I went to school. My dad went to school.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So there it is.
Yeah,
There it
Unless
is.
he's Will Shipley.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
yeah,
All right, man. Well, thanks for buying the shirts.
Yeah.
Grab
Well-
the koozies.
yeah, we've gotten several.
Perfect. Love to
Um,
see that. Get the cheap gas. Have you gotten
We
the
don't,
gas?
we don't think we're gonna wait in line.
Oh yeah. Is the line serious?
It
I
is.
haven't even seen the line.
Yes.
I haven't even seen the line. Well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah,
And thanks for all
absolutely.
the questions.
Yeah.
And thanks for the support. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't freeze the baby. Let's
Yeah.
get the baby out.
All
Okay.
right, Jack.
And we're gonna wrap
Anyways,
this thing
thanks,
up. All right, man,
guys.
thanks. Take it easy. All right. That's great. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. All right, let's get out of here. Some couple more questions from Brant. Gene Chiswick's defense has at least one unexplainable meltdown every year. Which game do you think it will be this year, and why will it be NC State?
I'm glad that Wes brought up the Pitt game. That's the one I'm looking at going,
Yeah.
I think Carolina's set up for a really
Well, it's funny. So let's go to another one.
just love the way that they played. It's because I think you're right about App State, about
Sure.
last year giving up 61 points. They won the football game, but they were embarrassed
Yes.
about the way that they won the game.
Yes.
And I thought the same thing about South Carolina. Remember, they were down in Charlotte. You got Drake Mayers from Charlotte. And it's like, look, my brothers have won the national championships in baseball and basketball. I'm not here to just be the number one pick in the draft. I'm here to actually win at Carolina. You need that type of motivation. I think they'll have that motivation this week against App State. But you're probably right. There's going to be a hiccup in there, of course.
It's college football.
There always
That's always
is.
the
Nobody's
case.
going to be perfect. And there are not a lot of layups on Carolina's schedule. While I think they can win all of those games, they could also lose a handful of those games too. So, but where will they screw up? I don't know if it'll be State.
It
man.
may-
That's-
I don't
and I
think it's gonna be
probably would have
State
said
either.
the same thing last
But this
year.
is this to Jess's to Jess. Hey Jess, this is I'm having trouble believing UNC is going to be decent this year. Is that valid, or should I allow myself to be excited? This is, and Brownlow brings this up all the time, and Brownlow and I were actually arguing about this past weekend in the South Carolina game, where I was like, Carolina looks good. She's like, how much time is left? Oh, there's still time. There's still time. Carolina fans, it's funny. State fans, as we joked about with Zach, and what you're introducing your child to going forward. If you're a Carolina football fan, I'm talking, and you and I have had this conversation about Carolina football fans actually existing. They do exist. And they have every example necessary to be of this mindset of, yeah, cool, but I can show you this, I can show you that. They get me hyped up, and then
Virginia
they only let me
Tech in
down.
the rain.
Right.
Yeah.
All sorts of things. How many State, for heaven's sake, as you brought up NC State.
Yep.
Losing in overtime last year to Ben Finley and everything else. So the whole thing's been a mess. And we'll get out of here on this from Aaron, buddy. I guess he's not busy. Aaron over at Sound Off. He's just griefing us in the chat, in the live chat. Aaron, dude,
Hey,
what
man.
are you doing?
That's our guy.
So does the chat
Jack was born to our
Right,
dulcet
does
tones.
the chat have any hot takes? Here's Aaron again. Waiter volume, Joe. Buzzword bingo. Reading all these chats, I'm actually going to put on the screen what Aaron showed me. of how I feel when I'm talking about the ESPN cable business. How do I have to explain where again? This is how I feel reading all these from Aaron in the chat. It's Ben Affleck in a Ovies and Joe Photoshop, a sweater. It's in a sweater.
He photoshopped.
He photoshopped it on a sweater.
Oh, that's awesome.
He photoshopped that. So Aaron, that's how I feel reading all these,
he's getting
brief
after
things. As he said, someone had to keep it active.
There we go.
Damn, dude. Not everybody can be a very popular iRacer like Aaron. All right, that's going to wrap it up for our show from the Beer Cave. Thanks to everybody who watched this thing live.
Thanks to Adam, of course.
Yes,
hosting
thanks to
us.
Breeze Thru. You got until 2:00 if you're watching live to come out and get the $1.76 gas. If you can make it in here because of that line, we got koozies and everything else. We will see you all on Monday with not just college football, but NFL football to talk about.